All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business. Ashley, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you back. We had you on a shorty episode. It wasn't enough information, so we're diving into all the nitty-gritty today. I'm so excited. But before we go there, can you introduce yourself to our listeners today?
Sure. I'm Ashley Bruggeman, and I own Ashley Morgan Interiors, which I just started. Gosh, we're still in July. So the first of the month, like literally less than a month ago, I opened my doors. So I have an interior design degree and worked for a commercial firm for a few years and decided pretty quickly into that that wasn't really my jive and needed some more diversity of projects and people. And so I went into sales, but stayed in the industry because I do very, very much love the construction and design industry. So I worked for a couple different manufacturers, selling their products into, I would call on architectural and design firms, educate those specifiers on the products, get them to specify, help them with specifications and continuing education, and managing the distribution network, which would otherwise be the subcontractors bidding on those products, and their purchasing and procurement and installation of products. And during that time, I also obtained my lead AP, and then also went back to school and got an executive MBA. And more recently, wandered into very much wanting to have my own business or just some other little, actually it started out wanting a side hustle, something smaller and manageable, because honestly thinking about, I think starting my own business was so intimidating. I mean, even with my background, it just seemed a little bit unattainable. And I love Christmas decorations so much and go all out in my home. And so for years, I've had friends tell me that they thought I should go out and market that and do that as a little side hustle. And I really was not interested in that. But things change, as I've learned through the years. And so I started talking to people and kind of working that and realized, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I want it to be this professional and organized situation. So I started listening to podcasts to get some more ideas on how I might be able to organize this or market this or things like that, and stumbled upon your podcast and binged it, like I'm going to say it again, like my favorite Netflix episode, and slowly started to realize, I probably could do this as a whole residential design firm. And for the first time, realized all my education and experience really culminated in the idea of opening a full-fledged design firm. And so I knew in order to do that, I needed a well-oiled machine. And I don't know what I don't know, right? But I knew enough to know that there was plenty that I did not know. When it comes to residential design, it's different manufacturers, it's different names. I mean, still to this day, so many of you all will throw out names of well-known residential designers. And I just have not followed that market at all. And I'm like lost. Um, so yeah, I'm still, learning so much, about the common, I don't know, just the known attributes of residential design. But was able to connect with you, which I'm so grateful for, and have learned so much through your podcast. And then of course, power of process.
So much to talk about. Okay. I met you and I love your story, and we're going to dive into some more details. And I happen to be in a unique position as a podcaster today because I've gotten to know you on a personal level. And so I know some of your stories, which is really fun. And I can't wait to kind of dive into some of that. But we met at High Point Market, and I was there in the spring, and I organized a meetup. And there are a bunch of designers there that was like all just through social media and email. And I think I mentioned it in Designer's Room. I mentioned it in my emails. It was kind of like hey, like, let's just all meet. I've always wanted to do an organized thing at High Point. I just don't know. I just haven't gotten around to doing it. I guess it's not a priority. So I would still like to do it though. So if anyone's listening and they want to help me organize an event at High Point Market, I'm all in. And I just was like, let's go to this showroom for breakfast and coffee. Anyone who can come comes. Well, there was a massive turnout and you were there. And I remember getting to talk to you and you were like, I've already signed up for POP. Like I've already signed up for Power of Process. And at the time I was like, well, it's not starting for a few weeks. Like I'm really excited to learn about your business. Like, where are you at? And you're like, oh, I haven't launched my business yet. And I remember thinking, wow, this woman knows her shit. Like she knows, like you just said, like you knew enough to know you don't know enough. Right. And I loved that I could tell right away you had the business savvy. That's before I knew you had gone back to get your executive MBA, that you knew you were going to open a residential design firm, but you knew that before taking on any projects, because remember you said like people were reaching out to you and you're like, nope, I'm not ready. You wanted to develop the business. You wanted to have a foundation. You wanted to have, I think, maybe a website. I think you wanted to figure out your Instagram. You wanted to have a process, a system of how you were doing things. How do you calculate your design fee? And you wanted to line all that up before taking on a single project. And I remember thinking, wow. Now we've had other students through POP do that, but this is the first time where I got to meet someone before they'd taken the course and before they launched their business. So kudos to you for like really investing the time and doing the work before launching to the world. Why do you think you did that? Like, what is it more than there's more to learn? Like, was it that you felt like you wanted to have that confidence and you wanted to see how others were doing it? Or is it just that you are somebody who is really organized and likes to plan and be prepared ahead of time?
Well, that would definitely be the case. But I would say too that there's no need to reinvent the wheel, right? Like there's so much out there to go by. And I also didn't want to come into this and sell myself short. Like I know that I have enough to offer, but if I can't give a professional, cohesive experience or present myself in that way, then I can't charge my value. And it's a business. And so I really needed to figure out, a process and have really well put together documentation, client facing documentation, and the website. And I also knew, obviously you're always working on your business even after you have clients, but I also knew I just did not, why do that? I'm in a situation where it's not like I'm without a job. But I didn't want to be in the middle of burying myself or taking on maybe even the wrong client projects, which is something, I think I learned a lot of boundaries in that through listening to you and through POP. But I didn't want to be in the middle of that and buried down in client needs and still trying to develop the foundation of my business because, oh my goodness, I think there was one podcast of yours and you mentioned how in the beginning you would show up at a client's house and like, there you are sprawled out, like on their floor, like option A, option B, option C, option D. And, you know, like, well, I don't know. What do you think? And I was like, oh my goodness, that is totally what I would be doing. And I know better. Like, and so that is, absolutely, I don't know, like with something new, even like so much of your mindset, if I was doing commercial design, I would so know better. Like they'd be lucky to get two options. But for some reason, starting out something new, you feel maybe inadequate about how you're going about it. And so it's like you need that confirmation of somebody who's been in it and been down that road before to tell you, no, is absolutely acceptable, or this is the way that we do it. And it fills you with that, you know, confidence to know, okay, like what I'm doing is okay. Like this is, these are the boundaries I'm going to draw.
Yeah, I love that you said that. That means so much to hear because I do tell that story from time to time. And I have lots of stories like that, but it means so much to me because I feel like creating Power of Process, starting this podcast, doing all these things that I do really came out of a place of people were asking. And I'm like, well, this is how I do it. And I was seeing that it was really positively impacting others. And they're like, oh, I wouldn't have thought to do it that way. Or how do you do this thing? And so creating the course is really, for me, it's the thing that I didn't have. It's like, oh my God, if only I had had that.
Right.
The years I lost trying to just find my way in the dark. And we're all still going to make mistakes. But if you can have someone who's gone before you in a community of people who are trying to figure it out at the same time, or maybe they're a little bit ahead, or maybe they're a little bit behind, and you're all kind of in it to learn and to better your business practices, like it's so heartwarming. And I love hearing that that's what you took away from it, or that's also part of why you signed up for Power of Process. It's actually had a lot more impact, this course, than I ever thought it would. I thought I was going to be teaching marketing. I'm like, I love marketing. Turns out I'm also kind of passionate about process. And anyways,
A little bit.
what did you find that was Power of Process what you were hoping it would be? Like, how did it help you set up your business?
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. You know, it's a lot of information, but you, like anything, right? You're going to get, out of it what you put into it. And so there's so much information, but you know, you yourself have to take responsibility to take it a step further and make it your own. Right. And I know that, one of the best things, that I got out of it was creating the whole, this is going to be my exact process, each phase of that design and exactly what happens in that phase. And, even like, and creating that workflow that is, kind of nerdy. But it is, I think my, favorite part, because it gives me confidence and it gives me peace and knowing like, okay, like this is under control and I'm under control and therefore my projects can be under control. And I can provide the best service to my clients. And so I think at one point I went through and created an entire spreadsheet of every single step, every single email, and labeled them. And so then I knew I would be able to somehow implement that. I didn't know how that was going to happen at that point. And then, you know, eventually I got there and it's still not like, you know, perfect. But it will be one day.
If you're in charge, it will be. I love it. And then you
Let's
can
hope.
share, then you can come back to Designer's Room and share with us, like, this is how you create this spreadsheet.
Mhm.
I love it.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing. It's good to have the internals organized so you can focus on the external. And that's sort of how I see it.
Right. Yeah, totally. And I had so much to learn, whether it's still product. And then the business side, there's so much to running a business. So like, why make it harder on yourself? And create this well-oiled machine on the business side as much as you can so that you do have that time to invest in learning these other aspects of, of what you've got to do for your business, for your clients.
Totally. I love this. And I think it's worth noting that, you were doing this, you did the course, you're launching your business. You've got a lot of other things going on, right? Like you're a single mom, right? You have also a child that you are
Yep.
taking care of in addition to working. I think it's worth mentioning that you also were involved in politics. When you
I,
told me that, I was like, OMG,
I know you all, like, your jaws all hit the
I'm
floor.
like, it's like an American movie. I love it.
Yeah, so well, I mean, I don't know, maybe the last 10 years or a little more, I've always had some extra time in my schedule. And so for the most part, use that time to invest in nonprofits. So I've served on a lot of nonprofit boards. So I've worked with like veterans, with Junior League, with a ministry for women who've been trafficked. And board, I mean, it's like a full-time job. And what I have done with these organizations. And then at one point I did run for office, which is again, like very personal. And your heart's on your sleeve, like that rejection is personal, all of it, right? You're really putting yourself out there. Very similar to running a design firm. Probably worse.
I think it's
But,
probably worse. I can't
yeah,
even
probably
imagine.
worse.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, people are probably a little meaner there, but so yeah, I'd done all these things with my time and finally got to a point where it was like, okay, my son is going into his senior year of high school as we record this. And he doesn't really want me around too much anymore. Another podcast. And so it was like, well, I need to prepare for this next phase. Like, this is the best time for me to really invest and dream. And I've developed this network locally. I live in Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm born and raised here. And then to be involved in politics and all these charitable organizations. And I've always had this strong network here, but I've never been able to use that for business. So even going to like local chamber events or like the networking piece, it's always been for something in the future. I didn't know what. And I love being around people, I mean, for sure, and having those relationships. But my business piece has always been in markets elsewhere, because in sales, I've covered multiple states. And so now I get to really reap the reward of building that local network and invest locally in the community from the business aspect of things.
I love that. I think this is going to be really great. I can't wait to have you back on the podcast a year from now to see how that network has helped your design firm grow and build, because I think it is a little bit of a lost art these days with social media and everyone's online. They think they can market everything online. And I just did a call inside Designer's Room this month about marketing, and I was like, listen, I'm going to talk about social media, but I do not think that's where you are getting your best clients. I think you need it because people go there to look at you for who you are. It is your network. I had a great episode with Elizabeth Cinquini, another Pop alumni who's in Naples, Florida, and she talked about moving to a new city and just spending all her time building her network, going to events, meeting people in person, connecting, because when you don't have that, it's harder to build a business. When you already have a network, like that is, you are starting at a level beyond so many other people. And so much of a service-based business, especially a luxury business like ours, is who you know and spreading the word. It's referrals, it's connecting, it's talking to someone that you meet. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to get involved in politics and be on the board of organizations to build a network. I mean, that's been your experience, but it's going to really help you. And I just know it 1,000%. I mean, you have so many other things going for you. I was just thinking as I was saying that about, your network and and finding clients. I'm curious, how have you started to find clients since launching your business, or how are they finding you?
So I would say, while you were talking, one of those things that occurred to me too was, the value of course, people are going to, judge you instantly by your social media or your website, when they go to look at you, like, okay, this is professional, or this is not for me, or whatever it is. But like nothing replaces that human connection of eye to eye. We're having a conversation in person, or on the phone, video, or whatever it is, but at an event. And then that person is able to see, like, hey, they know what they're talking about. They're confident. They're driven, whatever it is, like I can trust them. And I feel like that's really where the trust part comes in, for a client. I think that's how I would want to select a designer if I was in their shoes. But so what's funny though, is because this is all new to me, and I had, worked in sales. I've worked in sales for 20 years. And so sometimes, often people would ask me, like, what do you do? And I don't go into too much detail because it's like, so whatever, people outside the industry don't
They
necessarily
don't get
understand.
it. They just don't
We're not
get it.
doing it. Yeah. So my go-to is always, I work in sales and commercial construction. And they're like, oh, and so I was sitting at a hotel bar, and this fabulous lady came down and sat next to me and struck up a normal conversation as you would with strangers. And she asked me what I did. And so my go-to, I am in sales and commercial construction. And then I was like, oh, I forgot. And I'm an interior designer, and I have my own design firm, because, and realized, like, oh my gosh, I have to start telling people that, like, that's what I am now.
Yes.
And, she just said, oh, I'm looking for an interior designer. Like,
Oh
no
my
way.
God.
And it evolved and like turned into a consultation, and I have a proposal review with her here next week. And so yeah, hopefully, this is the beginning of a beautiful relationship here. But so yeah, like
I
it was
love it.
just this such a strong reminder, like what would have happened if I hadn't spoken up and owned, like, no, I am a practicing designer now. Like, this is what I have to tell people.
Okay. Can we just have a moment for you? Because I knew this story because we created a little WhatsApp group after High Point, and you shared it with us the other day. And I was like, yes, go girl. But I would like to take a moment for this story because you have not even been in business an entire month, and you are already stepping out of your comfort zone, it sounds like, to tell people, oh, I have my own residential interior design firm. How many designers listening are still struggling with saying that out loud? And maybe they've been in business for months, if not years. It took me a while to identify as an interior designer with a firm. Like, I felt nervous and I had imposter syndrome. So, like, good for freaking you for doing that. And look what happens, people. Look what
Yeah.
happens. Like, this is amazing. Like, get out there, talk about what it is that you do. You just never know. And in your case, she was directly a potential client who decided to hire you. But if it could also just be that you mention it to the person, you have a great conversation, you give your business card, they give it to their best friend, or they
Oh,
tell somebody on their street. You just never know. And like, a little bit of that, I feel like, is the universe. It's like putting us in front of opportunities. It's, are we open to receiving those opportunities and taking them and moving
mm-hmm.
forward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I still absolutely struggle with imposter syndrome. But you have to get over it. Like, you have to force yourself to take that step. And then it's like working any muscle, right? Like, and every time you step past it, it gets easier and easier. And you realize, like, no, this is my identity. Like, this is who I am. And it's okay to put that out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Totally. I think this is a really great story. I'm so excited to follow you. what would you say? I mean, this is a hard one to imagine, but especially for someone like you, I think, because you're very driven. But if you had not decided to take power of process, like if you were like, I'm just going to start, I'm going to wing it, I'm going to start launching my business, how would your life be different today?
I would not be as far along for sure. In fact, I don't even know that I would have opened my doors already. Because I was so, I need that process. I need organization and to know exactly, okay, what are my services and what does that process look like? And what are my client facing documents? And how do I communicate with them? And all of that to balance in conjunction with everything else going on in my world. Like, it just would not be a streamlined, organized process. I don't even know that I would have had the content to know what I want to put on a website so that I could even obtain inquiries. And so there's no way that I could have set the goal of a start date without enrolling in like power process to know, okay, like I have an expectation that by the end of this course, I'm not going to know everything, of course, but I'm going to know enough to be able to like have a foundation to move forward and to take this on. And I did. And so, that's why before I started it, I had set a date for 2 weeks after it had started, and knowing that I had to give myself grace and that this was very a high bar to set for myself and likely wouldn't happen, but you've got to have a goal to push towards. And so I did not hit it. My website was not live. I've wasted money, time on that freaking website. And so I've definitely spun my wheels on many different things that I wish I could do over and do better. But I then was able to hit it 2 weeks later. And so, it's just list and checking off those boxes and like getting it done and making decisions. And it's not perfect. But knowing like, okay, well, it's good enough for now. So we got to move on.
I love that advice. It's so true. I say it all the time, progress over perfection. You guys don't have a piece of paper right there on my cork board that says it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to start. And that's exactly what you did. And I love that. You mentioned your website, and I want to have a moment for this because when you announced, I think on social media, like my website is live, like we're doing this, I went to check out your website, which looks great, by the way. And I immediately noticed you have an entire team listed on your website. I was like, this woman literally means business. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, and it's just simple, pretty simple. Like contract, they are friends of mine that I've known for years and years and have experience in these different aspects. And so, yeah, one friend is, I contract with her to handle some admin things for me. And so it's just, it's pretty basic for now, until I get bigger and scale things to where I need more. And so she helps me with my website. She helps me with like workflow things and just setting up different softwares. And then I have another contract employee for project management. And again, it's just I feel like we're still in the feeling out, like, what is this going to be as projects come on board, and it'll continue to evolve. So yeah, like it's just, I'm still even in the place where I'm figuring out, and of course this will constantly evolve. I expect it to evolve, of knowing, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing and what I can do. And then this is what I do not need to be doing, and what I have to find other people for.
I love that. Have you read the book, Who Not How?
No.
Oh my gosh. I feel like you're living, breathing example of that book. Get the book.
Oh.
It's a really great book. It's called Who Not How. It's by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. They've written 3 books together. Who Not How, the gap and the gain, and then the new one is 10x is easier than 2x. And
Uh-huh.
I'm currently re-listening to Who Not How, and it's exactly everything you're talking about. We do not need to know how to get something done always. Even if we know how, we do not necessarily want to be the ones responsible for doing the task. And I think this is a really great example for designers who are listening, who are feeling overwhelmed, who are like trying to literally do all the things. You don't have to be 5 to 10 years into your business before you hire someone to help you. And like
Mhm.
you said, it's on a part-time basis as needed. As your business grows, that'll change, and maybe it'll be somebody else, or maybe it'll just be more of that person's time. But you know enough to know, I'm going to have this expert help me with that area, because like otherwise I'm going to spend 20 hours,
Mhm.
trying to figure out the website. It's not the best use of my time. And I think sometimes we stumble into this trap of money, right? Like money versus time. And we're like, well, it might take me longer, but at least it's free. Right.
Mhm.
But I think a higher level of business acumen to recognize, and you have your MBA, so you might already come by this honestly, whereas the rest of us had to learn a little on our own from reading business books. This idea that bring in the people that can do that for you quickly and can do it well, so that you can focus on being at the bar and chatting up the potential clients, or whatever other activities that you need to do in your business, like the design.
Totally. And I think um, the risk is removed so much more when you're hiring somebody on just contracts like that. And it doesn't have to be promised hours. You're just paying them by the hour. It's so simple, right? Like, and so there's not a real commitment there. And so it's easier to dip your toe into those waters, by going that way. And as things change, to not have a commitment to a salary, that's definitely not where I want to be right now. And so, yeah, like but then again, you also have to know at the same time, if you are paying other people out, you have to use your time effectively. Otherwise, again, you're wasting time and money, on those things. And so, if you're not using it to be out there networking or designing, or you've got to do actual beneficial activities with your time now.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's not, you can't just outsource everything and then sit and wait for the work to come. I mean, unless you outsource the sales. I mean, you really probably could outsource everything. Let's be
Probably.
honest. But that does take a little bit of capital. I love this. I think it's a really great example for designers to see that when you first launch, you don't have to be solo little old me running around doing everything. And honestly, back to your point about wanting to launch a business and feel and look professional, that does elevate your website and does make you look like a more established firm.
Mm-hmm.
To the newcomer who doesn't know you, and it sounds like most of your clients are probably going to come from your network, so they probably will know you and know that this is a new endeavor. But if somebody was coming to your website and they had never met you, they would assume that you'd been in business for a long time. I have
Mm-hmm.
to say, like, it looks very professional to have the team knowing that you're there to support. And I'm not, you know, hiring a designer who's going to be running around trying to do everything. And I think that speaks to also to your ideal client. And I'm sure you have a pretty clear sense now of who your ideal client is. And an
Mm-hmm.
ideal client for you, I'm imagining, is someone who is also a professional, who is used to delegating. And so they don't expect to hire a designer who's going to do it all. In fact, they probably see that as a red flag. They probably want to hire a firm where they know their needs are really going to be handled.
Absolutely. For sure. That is,
And I don't know if
my,
you thought about that when you were putting it together, but that's sort of from the outside, that's how I see it.
yeah, no, that's exactly how how I saw it, because it did, like, I did not want it to be, um, so, what's funny is, um, I can't. So this lady, who actually a veteran, who I met through my charity work, and she stumbled across, we're friends, like on Facebook or wherever else. And so she saw that I had started this firm, and she reached out to me, and she was like, I had an interior design business for like decades. And I was like, no way. And she complimented me and was like, I love that you have a clear process and that, you require contracts and retainers and like all of these things. It's so very professional. It really sets you apart from the decorettes. I've never heard that term. And she said, like, she is my freaking hero because she started out, I think she's a Vietnam veteran. She might be a little younger than that, but she started out in design school and was at a party for this celebrity. That's a whole other story. But anyways, this celebrity approached her and asked her what she did. And so she just said, I'm an interior designer. She's a student, but nobody needs to know that. And he said, great, I want you to design my yacht for me. And so she ended up hiring her professors because they were the ones with the, experience and the contacts to know how to get this done. So she subcontracted to them.
Wow.
Worked on this project, had it done, eventually then got a call back from the owner of the yacht. Turns out the celebrity was just leasing it, said, I hate what you did to my yacht. I will pay you to redo it. And she got
this is the craziest story, Ashley.
Right. Like she sent me an article, like a write-up in this. She started this business, like this led to a yacht design business where she was working for the, kings in these Arab countries, like all across the Middle East, and celebrities and wealthy people here in the US.
Wild.
And like just amazing unfolding of things. But like this lady that I've known now for a couple of years, and I had no idea that was her experience. And so it just is also like this testament to talking to people and putting out there like what you do, and then you never know who you can learn from.
Wow. Who knows? You might design some yachts.
I would love to. If you need your yacht designed, you know who to call.
All right. Well, I will keep you in mind because when I have a yacht, I am not spending time designing it myself.
Of course.
Oh my God. That is a phenomenal story. You know what? It also, like, it does go to show how confidence plays such an important role. Like she could have said, oh, no, I'm just a student of design, but let me connect you with my professor. Let me connect you with so-and-so. And like, she had the confidence to say, I'm an interior designer. And when this celebrity asked her to do the work, she just figured out how to do it. And she wasn't the one doing it all herself, obviously, because she didn't have the expertise at the time. That is such a great story. I love that. Did you know this story before you launched your design business, or this is since you launched? Okay.
No, I think she just told me a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, and sent me the article, the whole write-up on how she was like this yacht design queen. I mean, just wild.
Amazing. Wow. Totally wild. Okay. This has been such a great conversation. I love chatting with you. Is there anything we've missed before we get to the nugget and we round out our time together? Is there anything else that I feel like we need to share with everyone?
I would say, I remember in a breakout room, I think in Pop, once just talking about how I think one of my favorite things that came from investing in a course like that was that now I have not only the confidence to know that I'm following a process or doing things like other design professionals do and know work well, but I have this confidence to now know where to go when I don't know the answers. And that has been, I think, like that alone is valuable. It's like having a team behind you, even when you don't have your own team, right? Instead of just being out on an island, which is where I would be, right? If I had not invested in a course like that, or, in designer's room, or where I can just post things. I don't want to be asking just total strangers, but I've gotten to know these other designers and these other women, and I trust their opinions. And so, and you, and like, so to be able to have that, I think is so invaluable, and really helps to show up with confidence.
I love that. It's so true. It's so true. And I don't really think about that. You're reaching out, especially like in designer's room, like power of process is amazing while it's running, and then it ends. And it's so great to be in designer's room because those are a lot of the same people. And it is a select group of people. It is designers who are like-minded, who you trust. It's not just posting it out onto the intraweb, right? Or posting on Instagram, like, hey, designers, what do you think? Like, who, you don't know who those people are. And it is helpful to have, I think, also the privacy, right? Because there's things that happen in our business with our clients, with our trades, that can be frustrating, that can be challenging. And we want to get help from peers, but we don't publicly want to talk about it, right? Like there's been so many times where I'm like, that person, I'm so freaking annoyed, right? I'm not going to share that as much as I share on Instagram stories. I'm not going to go on Instagram and bitch about one of my contractors or one of my clients. Oh my goodness, no. But we're human for having these moments. So it's nice to have a safe place where you can say, oh my God, this happened. What do I do? And then you get a handful of people saying, oh yeah, that's happened to me before. You're like,
Yes,
oh, this is normal.
exactly.
Oh,
Right. And so, you're not alone. Like there's so much value in that.
Yeah. Community, 100%. Oh my gosh, girl, this has been so wonderful to have you here. Before we sign off, I'm excited to hear your last nugget of wisdom for all of us today.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I would say I think it's related to like pop or anything that you are investing in for your business or yourself. You're gonna get out of it what you put in it. And it's such a kind of overused saying, but it's so true, because you could show up week after week and just download the coursework, but not do it, not implement it, not spend the time enacting that or making it your own. And you're losing out so much. Like I would have never been able to start this business if I didn't take it seriously and didn't, put the work in to implement it and make it my own. And so, I would just say, don't treat it like a hobby. You're clearly investing in a course or in whatever education, because you want more. And so believe in yourself and respect yourself enough to put in the time and the energy to implement it.
Yeah, I love that advice, because if you invest the money and the time, you will get it back tenfold.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Great advice. Great wisdom. Amazing. We will definitely be following your journey. July 2025, we're coming back at you. So be ready. Before we sign off, can you let everybody know where they can find and follow you, Ashley?
Of course. I am on Instagram at Ashley_Morgan_interiors. The price that you pay for not being the first one out.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Yachts? Like what? That is the craziest freaking story. I love that. It just goes to show how like one moment can really change your trajectory if you are ready to take the opportunities when they're presented to you. I really like that is just such a great example of stepping up. There's an opportunity right now. Don't underplay your value or downplay your experience. Take it and then figure it out and get it done. That was a great story. So Ashley, thank you for sharing that story of the veteran who designed yachts. I also just love your tenacity and I love your perspective and how, Ash, I think Ash is a really great example of taking your time to set things up before diving in. And I mean, it's a lesson for me because I tend to just dive head first into anything and everything, which is probably why I like I follow the mantra, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to start, because I'm naturally a quick start. So it really fits with my MO. But there is something to be said for taking your time, investing in a course, taking power of process so that you can cross your T's and dot your I's, get those systems in place, create those client-facing documents, establish a process, set up the back-end systems so that when the projects start to come, you are ready. I hope that there was a lot to take away from this episode. I think it was a really good one. Ashley, thank you for your time. Guys, go give her a follow over on Instagram. I can't wait to see what she does. And if you guys are interested in taking Power of Process, it's back this September. Go to RebeccaHay.com/power of process to find out all the things to save your seat. I would love to support you inside. See you soon.